We will start counting election night after the polls close at 7:30,
Hmm.
and then that will include all of early vote and election day, and the largest majority of the absentee ballots. Overseas, absentee ballots have 10 days after the election to officially come in and be entered into the final certification. So we will not certify the election until 10 days after the election.
Okay, so 10 days is when we'll be certified. So on election night, we'll get unofficial numbers, correct?
That is correct. And we go through, and as we're running those unofficial numbers, we're also looking to see if there are any outstanding ballots that might impact the outcome of a race, such as provisional ballots that are cast during early or election day, and of course, those outstanding overseas ballots. And so we'll know if those ballots, when they do come in, or if those provisional ballots are counted, if they might change the outcome of the election that election night or the day after, so we can be aware, of any potential changes in the outcome of the results that might impact a race.
Can we talk a little bit more about these provisional ballots? So what are those provisional ballots? Where do they come from? And for those using these provisional ballots because they didn't have an ID, when do they have to show the identification to to your office?
Yeah, so provisional ballots allow a voter, when they're voting in person, to go ahead and cast a ballot if there is a question about their eligibility to vote. We can't find that they are registered to vote, or they requested an absentee ballot and never received it, so they're voting in person, or if they were unable to show an ID while voting in person. So provisional ballots are simply set aside to allow the commission a chance to review the eligibility of the voter. And if the vote does count, the voter is given a letter stating that their ballot did or did not count. And if they did vote a provisional ballot because they were unable to show ID, they must return to the courthouse by the Monday following the election by noon in order for that provisional ballot to count. So that's one of the reasons we really encourage voters, when they come to the polls, to bring that approved photo ID with them. So that they don't have to take that second step of coming back to the courthouse to show ID. We also have a lot of voters, who have moved into this area and maybe have registered to vote but not changed their driver's license from another state that's close by. Those voters need to bring a different form of ID when they come to vote, or go ahead and get their Arkansas driver's license in order for them to be able to cast a ballot on election day. Otherwise, they'll be voting a provisional ballot as well.